The power of chosen ones. Your actions this morning were truly special. My beloved child, something shifted this morning, quietly, without noise, without witnesses, yet powerful enough to bend the direction of your path. You didn't announce it. You didn't celebrate it. You simply moved differently. The smallest actions you took today carried a weight most people never feel, and that's why this moment matters more than you realize. While the world rushed past you, distracted and half awake, you were doing something rare. You were aligning behavior with intention. That alone separates the ordinary from the chosen. Not because of fate. Not because of luck. But because very few people act when no one is watching. You may think today was normal. Routine. Forgettable. But here's the truth most will never hear: your actions this morning sent a signal. A quiet one. A signal that doesn't chase attention, yet always attracts consequence. And if you feel a strange pressure in your chest right now, a sense that something is building but hasn't revealed itself yet, that's not imagination. That's awareness waking up. Don't skip. Something huge is waiting for you. What made this morning different wasn't speed or intensity. It was precision. Chosen ones don't rush, they move with intent. You didn't do more, you did better. You resisted an impulse. You completed something small that others postponed for weeks. You stayed disciplined in a moment where comfort begged you to quit. These details sound insignificant to the untrained mind, but patterns are born from details. And patterns, once established, rewrite identity. That's the part nobody warns you about. When you repeat aligned actions, even quietly, even imperfectly, you begin to outgrow the version of yourself people are familiar with. That's when resistance appears. Confusion. Isolation. A strange silence from people who used to be loud. Not because you did something wrong, but because growth disrupts comfort. Especially for those who aren't growing. This is why chosen ones often feel unseen right before everything changes. Your morning wasn't special because it looked impressive. It was special because it was consistent with who you're becoming. Stay till the end, because what's unfolding now explains why your progress has felt invisible. And why that invisibility is temporary. Here's the revelation few are ready for: life doesn't respond to goals. It responds to habits in motion. And this morning, you proved something to yourself without words: you can be trusted with your own future. That's rare. Most people break promises to themselves daily, then wonder why nothing moves. You didn't. Even if it was small, even if no one noticed, you kept your word. And once you do that enough times, reality adjusts. Opportunities don't arrive loudly. They position themselves quietly around disciplined people. You may not see them yet, but you're standing closer than ever. That's why things feel tense. That's why distractions feel louder. That's why quitting feels tempting right before clarity arrives. This is the threshold moment. The kind that separates people who almost changed from people who actually did. Remember this feeling. Anchor it. Because what you did this morning wasn't random. It was a confirmation. And as this story continues, you'll understand why today will be referenced in the future as the moment everything started lining up. There's a reason your mind feels unusually alert right now, like it's waiting for confirmation it can't yet explain. Moments like this don't come with fireworks, they arrive as tension. As pressure. As a quiet question asking whether you'll stay present or drift away like everyone else. This is where most people mentally leave the room. But you didn't. And that choice matters more than talent, more than confidence, more than timing. Because chosen ones aren't defined by what they want, they're defined by what they can sit with. Uncertainty. Delay. Silence. You stayed grounded while answers refused to show up immediately, and that patience is the exact trait that unlocks the next phase. Don't skip, because what you're about to understand explains why things have felt slow, and why that slowness was never a setback. Here's what almost no one tells you: before momentum shows up on the outside, it builds invisibly on the inside. Pressure isn't a sign something is wrong, it's a sign something is forming. And you've been inside that formation longer than you think. Every time you chose discipline over distraction, every time you stayed consistent without applause, you were adding weight to an unseen scale. Eventually, that scale tips. Not dramatically. Not all at once. But decisively. That's why chosen ones often feel a strange mix of calm and urgency at the same time. Calm, because they know they're aligned. Urgency, because they can sense proximity to change. If this is resonating, pause for half a second after this video and share it with someone who's been silently pushing forward too. Not for validation, for alignment. And if this kind of perspective keeps your mind sharp and focused, subscribe quietly. You don't need reminders. You just need signals when it's time to pay attention. Stay till the end, because the next realization is the one most people miss completely. The final truth in this moment is simple, but it's powerful enough to alter how you move from here on out. Chosen ones don't wait for proof before they believe, they become the proof through action. That's what you did this morning, and that's why the energy around you is shifting. People will start reacting differently. Situations will test you in subtler ways. Not to stop you, but to confirm you're ready. This is the stage where outcomes begin responding to identity, not effort. And identity only solidifies when behavior stays consistent under pressure. You're closer than you think. Closer than doubt wants you to believe. Something huge is waiting for you, not at the finish line, but just beyond the moment where most people quit paying attention. Hold this awareness. Move forward without announcing it. And when the change finally becomes visible, you'll know it didn't arrive suddenly. It was built, quietly, step by step, starting with a morning that looked ordinary to everyone else. There comes a point where clarity doesn't arrive as motivation, it arrives as calm. A stillness that feels unfamiliar because you've lived so long inside noise. This is that point. If you're listening closely, you can feel it, the internal shift from seeking reassurance to trusting your own direction. That transition is rare, and it's why most people never reach what they talk about wanting. They need constant proof. Constant hype. Constant signs. You don't anymore. And that's dangerous in the best possible way. Because once you stop needing validation, you start moving with precision. Every decision sharpens. Every distraction loses its grip. This is the stage where time feels different, slower on the surface, faster underneath. Don't skip. What's unfolding here explains why your confidence has started to feel quiet, and why that quiet is power. Pay attention to this truth, because it changes how you see everything behind you. Chosen ones don't look back with regret, they look back with understanding. Suddenly, moments that felt unfair begin to make sense. Delays. Rejections. Being overlooked when you knew you were capable of more. None of it was random. It was conditioning. You were being trained to move without applause, to build without attention, to hold yourself together when outcomes were uncertain. That training is why you don't crumble under pressure now. It's why chaos around you feels manageable. And it's why people sense something different about you even if they can't name it. This is where separation happens, not loudly, not dramatically, but internally. While others chase urgency, you build inevitability. Stay till the end, because the final realization in this sequence explains why things are about to respond faster than before. Here's the moment most people miss completely: when you stop forcing progress, progress starts finding you. Not because you relaxed, but because you became aligned. Your actions, your patience, your restraint, they're synchronized now. And synchronization is what turns effort into momentum. This is why opportunities will begin appearing without explanation. Why certain paths suddenly open while others quietly close. You won't need to announce anything. You won't need to defend your pace. The results will speak in a language people understand immediately. Something huge is waiting for you, not as a surprise, but as a response. A response to consistency. To discipline. To the version of you that kept moving when it would have been easier to stop. Hold this awareness tightly. Because from here on, the difference won't be what you do. It will be how deliberately you do it. At some point, momentum stops feeling exciting and starts feeling inevitable. That's where you are now. Not at the beginning. Not at the finish. Right in the zone where things finally respond without being chased. This is why your patience lately hasn't felt empty, it's felt loaded. Like something is coiled beneath the surface, waiting for the right second to move. Most people panic here. They mistake silence for stagnation. You didn't. You stayed steady while nothing external confirmed your progress, and that restraint is exactly why what's coming won't be fragile. Don't skip, because this moment explains why the next shift won't fade, it will lock in. Here's what separates you now from who you used to be: you no longer confuse motion with progress. You've learned that not every step needs to be loud to be effective. While others burn energy proving themselves, you conserve it, refine it, and deploy it with intention. That's why resistance has increased recently, not openly, but subtly. Small delays. Minor distractions. Unexpected tests of focus. These aren't obstacles, they're filters. Life is checking whether your discipline was temporary or embedded. And you passed more of those tests than you realize. If this perspective is sharpening the way you see your own journey, take a moment later to share this with someone who's been quietly leveling up too. Drop a thoughtful comment. Not for noise, but for clarity. And if you want to stay connected to this kind of grounded insight, subscribe once and move on. No pressure. Just alignment. Stay till the end, because the final realization here reframes everything you thought you were waiting for. The truth is, nothing you're moving toward requires rushing anymore. You've already done the hardest part, becoming consistent without immediate reward. That's the gate most never cross. From here on, outcomes respond faster because your identity is stable. You don't hesitate the way you used to. You don't second-guess every move. You adjust, you refine, you continue. Quietly. And that quiet confidence is what draws opportunities that don't need convincing. Something huge is waiting for you, not because you asked for it, but because you became someone who could handle it. Remember this phase. The calm before visibility. The stillness before recognition. When the results show up. And they will, you'll know they weren't sudden. They were earned, step by deliberate step, by someone who learned how to move without needing the world to watch. There is a quiet confidence that appears right before everything changes, and it doesn't feel like excitement. It feels like certainty without explanation. That's the space you're standing in now. You're no longer chasing the future, you're preparing to receive it. Notice how your reactions have shifted. Things that once triggered urgency now feel manageable. Doubt still knocks, but it doesn't stay long. That's not coincidence. That's internal authority forming. Most people never reach this stage because it requires letting go of the need to be seen struggling. You did the work in silence, and silence is where real power matures. Don't skip, because this is the moment where the inner version of you finally outruns the outer circumstances. Here's something that will land heavy if you're truly listening. Outcomes don't respond to effort anymore, they respond to identity. And your identity has been upgrading quietly. You no longer ask, am I capable? You ask, is this aligned? That single shift changes everything. It filters distractions. It shortens detours. It accelerates the right opportunities while dissolving the wrong ones without drama. That's why certain doors feel like they're closing on their own. They're not failures. They're confirmations. You're being redirected toward paths that don't require convincing, chasing, or proving. Stay till the end, because understanding this removes the last layer of anxiety about timing and replaces it with precision. The final realization in this sequence is simple, but irreversible once understood. You were never late. You were being shaped. And now that shaping is complete enough to move forward without breaking under pressure. What's ahead won't arrive loudly. It will show up as alignment. As ease where there used to be resistance. As progress that feels natural instead of forced. Something huge is waiting for you, not as a reward, but as a response to who you've become. Walk forward without rushing. Without announcing. Without explaining. The results will speak clearly, and when they do, you'll recognize this exact phase as the moment you stopped becoming, and started embodying. Now listen closely, because this is where understanding turns into direction. There's a subtle shift that happens when you stop asking life for permission and start moving as if you already belong in the future you're building. You felt it recently, the hesitation fading, the inner debate getting quieter. Not because everything is clear, but because you've learned how to move without needing certainty. That's the difference between people who wait and people who arrive. Chosen ones don't need guarantees, they need alignment. And alignment is exactly what you've been developing without realizing it. Every decision you didn't rush, every impulse you didn't follow, every moment you chose consistency over comfort, those weren't sacrifices. They were signals. Signals that you're ready to carry more without losing yourself. Stay with this thought, because what you're sensing right now isn't the end of a process, it's the beginning of a new standard. Here's a truth that changes how you walk forward from this point on: the next level never announces itself. It blends in. It looks like normal days with sharper focus. It feels like fewer words, fewer explanations, fewer reactions. That's why some people may start misreading you. They'll think you've slowed down, pulled back, lost interest. In reality, you've become selective. Your energy no longer leaks into places that don't move you forward. And that's when momentum becomes efficient. You're not doing more, you're doing what matters. This is where progress becomes quiet but undeniable. Where results don't need defending because they arrive fully formed. If part of you feels like you're standing on the edge of something you can't yet name, trust that feeling. It's accuracy, not anxiety. Something huge is waiting for you, not in the distance, but in the way you continue choosing yourself when no one is watching. So here's how this chapter closes. Not with noise, not with applause, but with certainty. You don't need to prove what you already know. You don't need to rush what's already moving toward you. The version of you that doubted every step has done its job and stepped aside. What remains is calm execution. Forward motion without friction. Presence without pressure. This is the kind of power that doesn't demand attention but always earns respect. Remember this phase. The clarity. The restraint. The confidence that doesn't speak loudly. Because from here on, your path won't need explanation, it will need protection. Move steadily. Stay intentional. And when the results surface, you'll recognize them instantly, not as luck, not as surprise, but as a natural response to the person you chose to become. There's a moment when effort stops feeling heavy and starts feeling natural, almost automatic. That's not because things got easier, it's because you got stronger. Right now, you're operating from instinct instead of force. Decisions feel cleaner. Distractions feel obvious. And the noise that once confused you now sounds distant. This is the stage where chosen ones stop reacting and start directing. You're no longer pulled by urgency, you're guided by clarity. That's why the world around you feels slightly out of sync with you lately. You've moved ahead internally. Don't skip, because this awareness explains why your next moves will feel calm. Yet irreversible. What's happening now is subtle but powerful, your standards have changed. You don't tolerate misalignment the way you used to. You notice immediately when something drains you, delays you, or pulls you off course. And instead of fighting it, you quietly step away. That's growth without drama. That's maturity without noise. Most people think strength looks aggressive. In reality, real strength looks selective. This is why fewer things excite you, but the right things light you up deeply. This is also why progress is about to feel faster. When energy stops leaking, momentum compounds. Stay till the end, because understanding this protects you from repeating old cycles when visibility finally increases. Here's the final realization of this phase: nothing ahead requires you to become someone else. You're not preparing to transform, you already did. What comes next is simply expression. Execution. Expansion. Something huge is waiting for you, not to test you, but to meet you at the level you've stabilized. Keep moving the way you are, quiet, intentional, grounded. No announcements. No explanations. The path is clear now, and the version of you walking it doesn't need permission.